bike Michele Pirro rode at Misano this week has no ride height devices, no aggressive aero package, and an engine 150 cubic centimetres smaller than anything Ducati has raced since 2012. It looks slower, it looks simpler, and the rivals who think that makes it less dangerous haven't been paying attention, because when Ducati voluntarily strips their own weapons and puts the result on track ahead of schedule, history suggests that is not a manufacturer in retreat. So what does the GP27 actually tell us about where Ducati's 2027 program stands? And is the simplicity a warning sign or a trap? The 2027 regulations represent the most complete technical reset MotoGP has seen in over a decade, and the reset was designed, partly, with Ducati in mind. Ride height devices, banned. The aerodynamic weapons Ducati pioneered, stripped back. The 1,000 cubic centimetre engine that has powered 6 consecutive constructors' titles, gone. This is the moment rivals have been waiting for. The tools that made Ducati untouchable disappear overnight. So you would expect the reigning champion to be cautious, watching before committing hard to a direction nobody understands yet. But that is not what happened at Misano. And the gap between what you'd expect and what Ducati actually did is where the real story lives. Let's start with what the GP27 actually is, because the machine Pirro rode this week is not the Ducati anyone knows. The ride height devices are completely absent. Gone are the systems that lower the rear of the motorcycle during launch and acceleration, the tools that have defined how Ducati riders start races and exit slow corners for years. Without them, the bike's launch attitude, its geometry under acceleration, its transition from braking to drive are all fundamentally different. Ducati's engineers are effectively relearning how to make this motorcycle fast without the primary tool they relied on to do it. And that problem alone would be enough to occupy an entire development program. But it is only one of 3. The aerodynamic package is also reduced. Front fairing width down from 600 to 550 mm, rear height cut by 100 mm, rear elements now subject to homologation, and locked to one update per season. The wings and complex tail sections Ducati has deployed to great effect are scaled back significantly, and the engine underneath is an 850 cubic centimetre 4-cylinder unit with a maximum bore of 75 mm, around 35 horsepower down on the current machine, with a bike that drops 4 kilograms in minimum weight as a result. But the combination of less power, less aero, and no ride height is not a slower version of what exists now. It is a different motorcycle with different physics, and it rewards different skills. Which manufacturers have those skills already? And this is where it changes. The shakedown happened under the cover of Ducati's V2 Future Champ Academy, a customer event run by Pirro himself, giving them a legitimate on-circuit framework to bring the prototype out quietly. Davide Tardozzi was there. Pirelli sent personnel and development rubber specifically for this outing, meaning the GP27 ran on actual 2027 prototype tyres from its very first laps. Let's be honest about what that means. Every other manufacturer developing an 850 cubic centimetres prototype right now is doing so on Michelin rubber and adapting to Pirelli later. Ducati built the machine-tyre relationship into the program from day one. Why does that matter? Because every rival is still waiting to start that conversation. I don't think most people watching the Misano footage understood that is what they were actually looking at. But the story doesn't end there. Pirro is only phase 1. The second element of Ducati's program is Nicolo Bulega, the current World Superbike Championship leader, who has won 6 races from 6 in 2026 and is stepping into the MotoGP program from late April. And what Bulega brings isn't just speed. It is Pirelli knowledge that no MotoGP test rider on Earth currently has. Bulega has spent his entire career on Pirelli tyres. He understands the warm-up window, the degradation curve, how setup changes shift the tyre's behaviour. For every rival manufacturer, That knowledge is being built from scratch. For Ducati, it arrives preloaded. I think that is the most underreported element of their whole 2027 structure, and it matters more than anything visible in the images from Monday. And oh yeah, when contracted, MotoGP riders get their first session on 850 cubic centimetre machinery and Pirelli rubber at Brno in June. Ducati's engineers will already have weeks of Bulega's data behind what they hand those riders. That is not a coincidence, that is sequencing. So let's think about what the Brno test in June actually represents, because most people treat it as a calendar milestone when it is really the first moment the 2027 pecking order becomes visible. Contracted riders from every manufacturer climb on 850 cubic centimetre machinery and Pirelli rubber. For most of them, that tyre is completely unknown. But what does Ducati know that nobody else does? By June, Bulega will have completed weeks of development work on the GP27 on those exact tyres. The engineers will know how the rubber behaves across a stint, how it responds to setup changes, where the performance window sits. And when Ducati's contracted riders climb aboard at Brno, they are not starting from zero. They are starting from Bulega's data. Nobody else at Brno can say that. That gap between what Ducati knows and what every other manufacturer knows when those riders swing a leg over, that is the real advantage the Misano shakedown was building toward. I don't think a single photo published this week showed it, but it is the most important thing that happened at Misano on Monday. Make no mistake, this is not a finished machine, and Monday was not a performance test. Daligna said last year, "We are planning a shakedown with the 2027 bike at the beginning of 2026, and I think Pirro will supervise the first test." That is exactly what happened. The plan was announced 8 months ago and executed on schedule, and Ducati CEO Domenicali did not sound like a man managing a threat. He said, "The next challenge is to achieve a 6th, a 7th, and an 8th year of success." Daligna added that he considers the displacement reduction very positive. Not difficult, not threatening, positive. Let's not forget what positive means coming from the man who built the tools the regulations just banned. It means Daligna believes the reset clears obstacles for Ducati, not hurdles. I don't think any other manufacturer on the grid is describing the incoming regulations in those terms. This was never really about what the regulations take away. It was always about who learns fastest when the platform changes. And if the Brno test confirms what Misano already suggested, the rest of the grid isn't just behind Ducati. They are behind on a timeline Ducati set 8 months ago and has already executed. Because if that advantage is real, 2027 might not start as a fight. It might start as a chase. And by then, is there anything left to chase? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.